Welcome to Sorry I'm a Bitch. I'm your host, Kaylee.
And I'm Hannah.
And today we are talking about the burden of emotional labor. We're going to be addressing the often unseen emotional and mental labor that women have to carry. And
so
men
heavy.
don't.
Yeah.
What do you think about when we were talking about this subject?
I think the main thing that comes to mind for me is how prevalent it is, and you can't unsee the burden of emotional labor once you're aware of it.
Oh, yeah.
I think you're only fully aware of it when your partner or a friend, usually a dude, actually supports you.
When did
I realize?
Yeah, when was the first time that you heard about emotional labor and the mental load?
Honestly, probably pretty recently. Like within the last few years, through social media, through like the zeitgeist of humanity and women talking about the weight that we've all bared for generations.
Mm-hmm. Since the beginning of time.
Yeah, truly. What about you?
When I became a mom, because I feel like Zach and I's relationship, my marriage has always been like pretty 50-50 or 100 or 100, whatever you want to call it, where we both worked, we both had jobs, we had hobbies outside of each other, we both are pretty tidy people. Like I never had to really think about it until I became a mom. I would be reading books and knowing everything before my daughter got there, and my husband wanted to learn as he went. And I'm like, but you do understand that means that I have to carry the load of like you figuring it out, basically telling you like I have to teach you instead of you just like learning before she gets here. There are things that we're going to learn as we go, but I also think that there are important things that we should know before she's here.
Oh, exactly. Like it could come down to as simple as, and this isn't in reference to Zach because maybe he knew how to do this, but like changing a diaper. That is so important. A lot of my male friends who have never cared for a child have never changed a diaper.
I mean, I had never changed a diaper before my daughter. Are
you serious?
Yeah. Like
Whoa,
I have friends who have kids and they'd be like, can you change? And I'm like, that's fucking gross.
Because technically Lydia's poop is basically your poop.
Yeah.
Zach and you, if you guys had a poop together.
No, I will say though, because my mom would be like, oh, once the child comes in, like you don't even notice the smell and whatever. I had her in 2021, so we had a ton of like K95 masks, and I would wear 2 of them to change her diaper, and Zach would just change it like no problem. Like he didn't give a shit at all.
You are very sensitive to smells.
Very
I
sensitive.
will say that.
Yeah.
You can pick up on things that.
Oh yeah. If you ever need someone to like detect a gas leak, I'm your girl.
From my person.
Yes. And then of course becoming a stay-at-home mom, there was a lot of push and pull where it was like, I don't get a break, he doesn't get a break either, because then he works all day. And then I would say like, well, working is kind of a break, and he'd be like, no, it's not. When she was a newborn, it was very hard for me emotionally. I had postpartum depression and I had postpartum anxiety. I think mentally I was just gone. I had to rely on Zach a lot. You can't fix somebody's mental health.
No, you just can't.
No.
Okay, so now that Lydia is 3 and you guys have your routine kind of sorted out, how did you figure out the weight of different tasks, whether it's caring for Lydia, Zach working his job? How did you navigate that? Like you must have had a conversation where you figured out, here's the weight of all the things I'm doing and here's the weight of all the things you're doing. How did you balance it?
The first 2 years of a child's life are the hardest. I just don't think there's really any balance. I think one person is always going to feel way more exhausted than the other one. And that was give or take. There'd be days where Zach would be so exhausted and I'd be like, you don't get to be exhausted. I was up all night. And he was like, so was I. There definitely wasn't any strife in my marriage during that time because we do help each other so much, but I definitely took on way more of the mental and emotional load.
And physical.
And physical. It takes way longer than you think for your body to heal.
That's one of the reasons why I don't want to have kids.
Yeah.
Your body's fucked afterwards.
Oh yeah. I was losing hair for months.
Yeah. What's interesting to me is you and Zach, your relationship, we're in Joshua Tree right now. We're sharing a cute little house. You guys are so balanced and you know, Lydia's not here, so you guys are free to just be grown-ups. And the ways that you guys interact with one another and help one another, it feels like he is so aware. Before you even have to think of asking him to do something, he's already doing it.
Oh, yeah. As a testament to how much of the burden is on women if I have such a supportive husband and I still felt like that.
Exactly.
You know, I remember I went to my grandma and I was telling her about this, and she just started telling me all of these stories. Like her grandmother, my great grandpa used to beat the fucking shit out of her. And she had 6 or 7 kids. Their son, he was in an accident where he was riding his bike. Something fell off a truck. Something happened and it sliced his leg. He went home and my great-grandmother couldn't drive. My great-grandfather would not take him to the hospital and he died. Found his death certificate.
I can't even imagine what that must have felt like.
Yeah, he was a drunk. They lived out on a farm in the middle of nowhere. There was no way for her to get help for her son. And he ended up dying because of her drunk, abusive husband. There are just so many things that our ancestors had to deal with that we just don't. Not that everything is perfect for our generation, but it is definitely...
It's way better.
Yeah.
But then that makes me think about generational trauma and how that weighs on us as well. I think about my grandmother, my mother, most of the women in my family. They were the organizers. They made things happen. They made sure everyone got to the appointments on time. I can remember vividly as a kid, whenever I had a question, my dad would be like, go ask your mom. Because she was the one who made the executive decisions. You know what? Actually, I think that was the first time I really was aware of like, oh, the emotional weight of caring for a child usually falls upon Mama Bear because she's the one who truly has the best interests of the kid. And not saying dads don't. Maybe it's instinctual. We have the big picture idea.
Also think about like who made holidays special. Like who made
Grandma.
The maternal set. Holidays were always so cozy, and my mom would always like light a fire and have the best food and just made it so special.
Yeah.
Now that I'm a mom, I know the thought that goes into all of that, and you want to do it. Zach gets joy from playing with Lydia, like little games, and like they play Monster where he puts on a witch hat, runs around the backyard, and she runs from him. And I don't get joy from that. I get joy from watching that from the back window while I make cookies or cook dinner.
And that's something that I'm so grateful with my parental dynamic as well was Dad did a lot of the play, taught me how to ride a bike, taught me how to throw a baseball, taught me how to play music, like taught me all of these things, whereas my mom made sure I survived. It was a great dynamic. Like my childhood was blissful because of it. The way that you and Zach are raising Lydia reminds me so much of my parents.
Oh, and you're an only child.
I am an only child too. Yeah. Only children get a bad rap.
They do.
We really do.
Parents of only children, so selfish to not give them a sibling. I'm like, it's more selfish to bring another child into the home when I don't want to do that again.
No.
Like I love Lydia, and now that she's 3, it's so much fun and so easy. But the first 2 years of her life were very, very hard on me.
Yeah.
We have friends who have a son the same age as Lydia, and they just had a little boy, Leo, who's adorable. One of the first things I asked was obviously like, how's Ashley doing? How's Dom handling being a big brother? And of course they were like, surprisingly well. That's definitely a thing that you worry about,
Very
like
much
how
a thing.
you've been the only one until now. But I knew before I gave birth to Lydia that I only wanted one.
I think being an only child is a really special thing. I think a lot of people presume that we're like lonely and loners, and the reality is like I was very loved. Not saying that kids with siblings aren't very loved, but I literally got all of the love.
All the love. Well, and I have 3 siblings, and I felt lonely growing up. Yeah. Even to this day, I don't have particularly close relationships with all of my siblings. Yeah. My sister Jara and I are very, very close. But other than that, and she lives in Las Vegas, so we're not even near each other. So you can have a lot of siblings and still feel lonely.
It makes me think that maybe women, we've had to evolve to carry the weight, because it's not like you can just wake up one day and just do it all. Yeah. It would be utterly exhausting. A support system is so vital.
Yes. Like I'm here right now because my mom has my daughter, and
Absolutely.
going to Curacao in December. My mom's going to have my daughter, and I still get to travel and live my life and do hobbies and, you know, have a marriage where I can go and we can date and, or just have time to ourselves. And my mom's like ecstatic to have her.
It is I feel like a privilege to be able to identify when you are carrying the burden.
Yes.
You know, because I feel like it's, for so many people, it's like, that's just life.
Yeah.
Like there is no other option. You have to, because you are a single mother. Dad's not in the picture. You have to work the multiple jobs to keep your family fed and housed.
Literally my mom's life.
Yeah.
My mom's really essentially the only help that we have. And I don't feel stressed out because she's the only help I need, really. I mean, she is just amazing. She's my mom. Yeah. Motherhood it's a lot. But I do think that we live in a time where if you're in a relationship with somebody who doesn't recognize the emotional labor and the mental load and all of the things that women have to deal with, like fucking move on. Run. Yeah, because do not have a family with that man, first of all, because you are going to go fucking crazy.
It's becoming common sense that if you're in a relationship with someone, a romantic relationship, you come to them with a problem and you say, hey, this thing you did or said, it didn't make me feel good. Their response to that is so important. Let's say they get defensive. That's your emotional energy to try and combat that then. Yeah. Let's say they just completely shut down and like walk away. That also creates an emotional response in you. Yeah. Or the person could look at you and say, oh, I hear you. It makes me feel things that you feel things. Yeah. But I hear you and I'm here for you. Yeah. And I'll meet you in the middle or change this behavior is so important in alleviating the emotional weight. And for them too, by creating a safe space where both parties can communicate, everything's light and balanced. And that's so important. Yeah. And it takes a long time to find that. I'm 34, been in multiple long-term relationships, and this is the first time that I don't feel the emotional weight in a relationship.
Well, I think that's our biggest takeaway from this is find somebody who helps you carry the load. And if they don't, you deserve more. You deserve better. Like there are men out there who know.
There are men out there who want to treat you like the princess. There are men out there who listen to you. Yeah. The big divorce for millennials, the big reason is if I'm going to be a single mom, I'm going to be a single mom and we're going to move on. I support that. Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to move on from this episode. Yeah. Thanks for listening. Bye. Bye.